Let's talk wide receiver ranks for week 14 of fantasy football. We changed things up last week with our rankings videos. We went, instead of going game by game and breaking things down, we went position by position in separate videos. So this video will just be wide receivers. We have a video for just running backs, just quarterbacks, just tight ends. You can check those out as well. We're going to try to go a little bit quicker through these videos, and we'll show the rankings on screen throughout the video. So let's not waste any more time. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's take a look at wide receiver rankings. The way we're going to go through this is we're going to just start from the top. If I think that there's something interesting to say about a player or about a matchup, or someone's ranked higher or lower than you might expect, I'll talk about it. If there's a player that you see here that you want more information on, let me know in the comments, and we can release follow-up YouTube shorts and TikTok videos about specific rankings matchups. So let's get into it. JSN, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, 1, 2, 3. Here's how we read this. JSN plays the Falcons. The Falcons allowed the 15th most points to fantasy wide receivers on average throughout the year. There are going to be times where I'll call out like, hey, I think their defense has gotten better, but that's not the case for the Falcons. I think things are probably a little bit worse than to start the year, but I would put them right around 15th best pass defense. That doesn't worry me for JSN. He's number 1 on the week. Jamar Chase against the Bills at 2, CeeDee Lamb. There's not that much interesting information to say. Maybe with CeeDee Lamb, I know that there was a worry that George Pickens was now the lead option or the better option. I think we will see games where teams try to take away CD and say, make George beat us. And he can. And we've seen them do that. I don't know that that is how things are going to happen each week. And I think teams are going to change up their game plan when playing Dallas. I still like CD ahead of George Pickens. Similar situation with Puka and Devontae Adams, but it's not as, I don't think they're as far apart. You can look at the ranks. I've got Puka one spot ahead of Devontae Adams. I think Puka is the lead pass catcher, the lead target getter on most of the field. In the red zone, though, Devontae Adams is just kind of open, and Matt Stafford knows how he will be open and knows how to get him the ball. They have a relationship in the red zone that's just clicking right now. Adams getting a touchdown every game until I see that change. These guys are both going to be top 5, top 6 in the rankings every single week. Rashee Rice takes on the Texans. I could see him being lower down in the rankings, but some of the options that would go ahead of him are also in tough matchups, like Nico Collins taking on the Chiefs. They are not elite championship level defense, but they are a very good defense, and they stop fantasy production. So Rice against the Texans, Nico Collins on the other side, I like at 6 and 7. Jameson Williams, I'm not as high as everyone else. He's taking on the Cowboys, who on paper are the number 1 team for throwing on. But like we were saying, that's a season-long number. Dallas has brought in more players on this defense, like big players. Quinnen Williams, not just physically large, he is a good defensive lineman. That changes things for Dallas. As he gets worked into this defense more and more, I expect Dallas to not be the number 1 option for starting pass catchers against. I don't think they'll finish the year as the best matchup for wide receivers. And in a season-long number, it's going to take a while for that number to come down. I would expect that over the past 3-4 weeks, they're not the best option. Jameson Williams had a great game on Thanksgiving. I think with a week to prepare for no Amon-Ra St. Brown, that they'll work in other options. Like Isaac TeSlaa played 90+% of the snaps and saw 2 targets. I think they'll draw up plays for TeSlaa. They'll find ways to get more running back usage in the game. I don't know that it's just going to go into emergency, just get it to Jameson Williams mode, which is why I've got him ranked at 8 instead of consensus ranking, which is closer to top 5. Drake London, I have a 9. I could see Drake London ahead of Jameson Williams. That's more of just the talent of the player. And this is a what if ranking. We're not sure that Drake London is playing. If a player is in the ranks and they are questionable for the game, that does not mean I think they will play. It's just if he plays, I would have him ranked at around 9. I wouldn't totally trust him to get full usage. If he's not playing, you can kind of just move George Pickens up to 9. I wouldn't put Darnell Mooney much higher if Drake London plays. Or if Drake London doesn't play, Darnell Mooney is very far down the rankings, and I wouldn't shoot him that much higher. I think it would get to the situation like there's just not enough pieces for the offense to move if London's not playing. But if he plays, I'd start him around 9. I would have him about interchangeable with George Pickens, AJ Brown range. Let's talk about Pickens. We covered him a little bit when we were talking about CD, so we'll skip over that. AJ Brown, great game against the Bears. He is still very talented. This offense that can struggle at times can still produce a top 5, top option at wide receiver. I've got AJ Brown at 11, and I've got Devonta Smith at 17. Just because we saw it go one way against the Bears, like Devonta Smith was also getting a lot of targets. Sometimes it goes his way. So I've got him at 17 right behind Jalen Waddle. We'll work our way down to that. Chris Olave at 12 against the Bucks. He's just the lead option, the only option on New Orleans. They don't really have Kamara to move the ball. He's the best player on this offense, on a bad offense, but it's still usable. He's still a solid wide receiver 2. There's some players on bye that aren't available this week. So he'll be at 12. Justin Jefferson at 13. Ahead of T. Higgins, ahead of Pittman, ahead of Waddle. If you wanted to move Jefferson down to Ibuka range, Rome Odunze range, I wouldn't think you were crazy. Rome Odunze is getting targets. He's just not catching them. Justin Jefferson is getting targets. They're just bad targets a lot of the time. J.J. McCarthy is expected to be back. The Commanders are an easy matchup for pass catchers. Justin Jefferson is still elite. We've seen bad quarterbacks make Justin Jefferson usable, like Josh Dobbs. We've seen Josh Dobbs come in on a 1 to 2 week notice and be worked into this Minnesota offense and make Justin Jefferson viable. I'm still going to believe it's possible with JJ McCarthy. Like, he's not amazing, but he is good enough to support Justin Jefferson. We just haven't seen it yet. So if I have Jefferson and you're in desperation and you just can't take a 0, like, I could move him down here. I could move Sutton ahead of him. But in most situations, I think I'm still trusting. I'm slow to turn away from a star receiver, even though it has not been working. At 14, if T. Higgins plays, that's where he would slot in. Pittman, I still think very good talent. This offense is slowing down a little bit with Daniel Jones working on a broken leg. He can't run as much anymore. But I think that's something that's been happening for a while. The thing that would worry me more about Pittman is Alec Pierce, who sometimes looks and is acting as the number 1 receiver. It's just a solid offense. I think they will be able to pass on Jacksonville, so I'm not panicking on Pittman. I don't have a Pittman panic. Same thing with Jalen Waddle. A couple bad games, but you can move the ball on this Jets defense. This Jets defensive number as 21th, as allowing the 21st most points to wide receivers would include a lot of Sauce Gardner in there, who's no longer on this defense. It would include a lot of games with Quinnen Williams, who's no longer on this defense. Jalen Waddle has struggled in the past couple weeks, but he's still the lead option for Miami. And I think adding in Darren Waller does help them become a little bit more dynamic, a little bit less Jalen Waddle focused. So a team with Achane, Waddle, and another option actually does, I think, kind of help Jalen Waddle. It just helps the offense move the ball more. We covered Smith. Terry McLaurin 1 week back. It looks good. It looks good. The promise of this offense of Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and a good quarterback, like they can move the ball. There's not a ton more to say. I like him right around this Ladd McConkey range. Ladd McConkey, if we had a healthy Justin Herbert, if he had both working hands, he'd be ranked much higher. I could even see Ladd ahead of Justin Jefferson if the quarterback was healthy. Same situation with Ibuka. Baker Mayfield dealing with an injury in his non-throwing shoulder. They won the game on Sunday, but Baker Mayfield was under 200 yards passing. And I think that's going to affect a player like Ibuka. Chris Godwin coming back affects a player like Ibuka. I think he's still a stud. Some of what we saw in the year with his production, I wasn't ever fully buying into because he wasn't leading the team in targets. When Mike Evans was healthy, Ibuka was outscoring him for fantasy, but Evans was getting more air yards. Evans was getting more targets. And now that we've seen a full season of it, or closer to a full season, it's not of those players, but we've seen more and more games of Ibuka. It's getting back to about that same range. His usage isn't changing. He's just not hitting the end zone as much. He still can. He's still very good. I've got him as a wide receiver 2 on the week. He's just not top 10. He's not top 8. Same situation with Rome Odunze. His usage isn't really changing. He's just not catching the ball. In the past couple of weeks where Rome Odunze has put up single-digit fantasy points, he's getting targets. 6 targets, 9 targets. He's just getting 3 catches, 2 catches. And some of them look like he's just dropping it. catches hitting him or passes hitting him in the hands, and he just doesn't connect. So if those start working, I don't think it jumps from 2 catches to 3 catches. I think catches produce more catches. He is earning targets, is the short way of saying that. Wide receivers earn targets. You have to be able to get open, and Rome Odunze is getting open. It's just not clicking yet. Cortland Sutton, I've got at 22. Troy Franklin at 27. These guys have come closer together, moved further apart, closer together. I'm going to keep it right around this for a lot of the rest of the season. Cortland Sutton was wide receiver 15 last year. I bet on the year he finishes around wide receiver 15 again with similar stats. It just doesn't look the same as it did last year. There is a second option. There is a second viable option, and it's Troy Franklin. So Cortland Sutton will come down in ranks for the rest of the year. You can't quite see my hand. Down in ranks for the rest of the year, but I think he finishes about where he did last year. It just looks like a different path to get there. Christian Watson has been healthy, has burned the Bears in the past. His target usage is going higher and higher. If Jayden Reed plays in this game, I would become less confident in using Christian Watson. I'm not sure that Reed comes back. I'm not sure that Reed becomes the lead option. In the past couple of years, when Jayden Reed was the lead pass catcher for Green Bay, they didn't have Christian Watson. He was the leading wide receiver when they were using Tucker Kraft as the other lead option. I don't know that we know what this Green Bay defense or what this Green Bay offense is going to look like. Players like Romeo Doubs finding the end zone, Dontavian Wicks finding the end zone in recent weeks, I think that's a little bit more fluky. Some of the issues that we've had with players like Dontavian Wicks is like he can get open and can't catch the ball. So if we see a game of him catching the ball, I don't know that means he's fixed it. I think it means like he's good enough to catch the ball sometimes, and sometimes he gets to the end zone and has a great game. I just like Christian Watson better than that. I think he catches the ball more. I think he gets open at a good rate. So I've got Watson at 23. I'm not chasing what we saw with Wicks, I'm not chasing the touchdowns of Romeo Doubs. If you're just looking at matchup specific things, Doubs does score touchdowns against the Bears. So if you wanted to take Romeo Doubs and move him from 42 to 37, 36, that would make sense to me. Chris Godwin looked good in his first couple games back. In the first game back, I think they were getting blown out. So we were expecting a lower snap usage for Chris Godwin in his first healthy game. They were getting crushed, so you would expect less usage, and that showed up. In his second week, he's playing more. I expect Chris Godwin to be out there more in his third game. Brian Thomas, a season of injuries. Is he finally healthy? Put up 5 fantasy points this past week. Let's just take a look at some of his numbers on the year. What we're looking for is like high snap percentage usage. In these games, we thought, oh man, he's hurt. Something's going on with his wrist. He started to get up into double digits. Week 6 against Seattle, 23. Week 7, I think much worse game. I think a little bit injured in this game against the Rams, and then out multiple games with injuries. He's back 75% of the snaps. I would expect him to be above 80%, barring something crazy happening against Indy and the Jets. I think we're starting to see the back of a return to him. Jacoby Myers is also getting a lot of targets, so it's not just Brian Thomas as the only option like it was last year. I want to see this 3 targets that he had on Sunday get back to 7, 8, 9, 10 targets before I'm really going to be trusting him as a wide receiver 1 if I ever am this year. Got him as a wide receiver 2 flex option for you, or flex option 29th on the week. Zay Flowers, he's up, he's down. Pittsburgh, I still think is a tough defense as a whole. This number says they're the second best option to play in the passing game. I don't know that just translates over to Zay Flowers. And we've seen Lamar Jackson scuffling for about a month now. Not really able to move the ball. Zay Flowers is up and down, disappears. I've got him at 30 as a confidence level with starting him. He might have a classic Zay Flowers game, 10 targets, 8 catches, 90 yards, and a shot at a touchdown, and that would put him up into 15, 16 on the week. I'm just not confident that we're going to see it, and I would start a lot of these other guys ahead of him. Anything interesting to say about Pierce? Not a ton. Deebo Samuel, not a ton. DK Metcalf, lead option for Pittsburgh. They're just not able to move the ball that well. He's the best receiver they have, but some teams just don't really have great receivers. It's better than the Titans situation. It's better than the Jets situation. but there's a lot of options that I would go to before I went to DK Metcalf. You're kind of just hoping for a couple deep shots. I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is healthy enough to move to take a lot of deep shots. So we're looking at fewer opportunities for deep catches for DK Metcalf, or you're just hoping for an end zone, a touchdown. Maybe in this week after Aaron Rodgers called out his wide receivers, they run routes that he's expecting them to in the red zone and they connect on touchdowns. I mean, there was a play on Sunday where it looked like DK Metcalf was wide open on a slant. The defense lined up in a way that if DK runs a slant, he walks in for a touchdown, and it just didn't connect between quarterback and receiver. I'm also just kind of making that up. To my eyes, that's what it looked like, but that doesn't mean I'm right. I'm probably quite wrong. I've got him at 33. DJ Moore, rough season for him. He is getting targeted more. He's still running the ball out of the backfield. We've seen him scoring on some routes up the seam. I think this offense is trying to find a way to get him going. There's a lot of guys I like ahead of him, but I don't think he's a drop tier yet. And I think we could still see some good. It wouldn't surprise me if he finished the year really well. Xavier Worthy has not quite worked out the way I thought it would. With Rashee Rice coming back, it's just back to all Rice all the time. Xavier Worthy still open deep, still will get his work. But man, I thought Xavier Worthy could open this offense up to 30 plus points a game or low 30s a game, like we have seen from Chiefs offenses in the past. And it's just not working the way I thought it would. And he's in a very tough matchup this week against the Texans. I would be looking to get away from Xavier Worthy. Keenan Allen, I'm not excited to be using him with the injury to Justin Herbert on his non-throwing hand. It does just limit what a team can do. Like, can he operate under center without two hands? Not necessarily. It takes things away from an offense in ways that you don't quite expect. Jordan Addison, we've talked about Justin Jefferson. I don't know that Jordan Addison is the level of talent that I would be putting him in with a quarterback as bad as JJ McCarthy. And now we're starting to get into some of the desperation options that I do have ranked. Adonai Mitchell, Jaden Higgins, young players, not quite the lead Adonai Mitchell is maybe the lead option for his offense. Jaden Higgins is not. These guys could end up having good games. I have them ranked around here. I wouldn't think you're crazy if you started them, but I'm trying not to. Isaac Tesla is a player that I'm calling out, probably unrostered in a lot of leagues, but he's out there. Let's pull him up as one of the last players we'll show stats for. Isaac Tesla has not been playing for most of the year. This is his rookie year. He has finished 0 seasons. And then Amon-Ra goes out and he plays 92% of the snaps. His day looks good because he gets in the end zone, but he only had 2 targets. He caught both of those targets. He got 11 points on the game against Green Bay. I would expect Detroit to have a different game plan going into the game against Dallas than they did going into the game against Green Bay if there's no Amon-Ra. So he's out there. Maybe they start drawing up more plays for Tesla. Again, a number 40 ranking on the week is not an emphatic yes, use him, but I think he should be rostered. And then here are some other options. We've covered most of them. Some of them are pretty obvious, like Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed. These guys have a shot at a touchdown or a little bit of work in this game. And then we'll get into the please no tier. These guys are not ranked. These are all viable fantasy options or players that could become fantasy relevant in any given week, but they're not quite ranked. Like Tez Johnson has somewhat fallen off. Chimere Dike not looking usable at all with Alec Iamanaar around. Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Noel. Any one of these guys could find the end zone. It could be Noel. It could be Hutchinson. It could be Higgins. I think Higgins is most likely. That doesn't mean these guys aren't likely. It's just I wouldn't be using them. Trey Tucker and Jack Besh. Again, these are not ranked. This list, Tucker and Besh are just near each other because they're playing the original rankings on the way I build these ranks. We start with them ranked based on their matchup. So Trey Tucker and Jack Besh would be at the bottom. And I just couldn't find a way to get them into the top 45. So that's why they're still down here. This list is not ranked. These are all options, desperation options. But mostly I want to be getting away from them. So we'll pull this back up. We're now into the outro. Let's start with, we'll show from Rashee Rice on as we go through the intro, because I think that's where most people will have questions. If you have found this useful, let me know. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. It does help. I do see them. I am just one dude making these videos and editing them and building ranks. So I feel it. If you leave a like, you leave a nice comment. Like, I see it, I read it. If you have a question about a specific player that you think I didn't cover enough or you don't agree with the ranking, let me know in the comments. We'll keep it respectful. We'll have a discussion. Just let me know. And then if this has helped you, I think I already said that. If you're looking for running backs, we have that as a video. If you're looking for quarterback ranks for week 14, we have that. They'll be on your screen. They'll be in a playlist. You can click on the page to find it. And if you are interested in playing Dynasty Fantasy Football, we're starting a series where I rebuild a Dynasty team that I started last offseason. That's not doing so great. So we'll be going through that throughout the offseason. It's a ton of fun being able to play fantasy year round. So if you are interested in Dynasty, check out that series. Let me know. We will be doing Dynasty startups throughout the offseason, some as soon as February or March. If you are interested in that, let me know in the comments. Check the description, join our Discord where we will be doing the league startup. So you'll need to be in the Discord to coordinate to get things going on the league. That's where all of the information will be sent out as we get closer. We're through the outro. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next one.